The mission of the world around is to amplify, champion and convene the best of global architecture. Yet facing us all is the largest issue of our time, the global climate emergency. We feel it is not enough just to recognise the established voices of the discipline. In order to solve this problem, we must listen to and invest in the next generation. Which is why we launched a global open call to talented under-25s all over the world with one simple question: what is your climate action project?
My name is Amanda Sharifa from Kakamega.
New ways of thinking.
Invest in our generation and amplify our impact.
The World Around Young Climate Prize is a platform to create bridges between generations, between forms of knowledge, between countries. Our Young Climate Prize is a tool to create long-lasting community of like-minded global citizens. They are responding by inventing new materials, transforming waste into products, designing systems to share knowledge, and building communities that generate change. These 25 under 25 gathered as part of a design academy, which was led by the World Around's design champions. These globally renowned designers, architects, artists, and technologists invested their time to help amplify and accelerate the impact of each of the projects through one-on-one mentorships and group workshop sessions.
Every one of us has the power to create change.
To create sustainable communities.
I want to ignite public awareness
for more equitable forms of climate justice.
A que juntos construyamos este espacio de educación y unión.
These are the young climate visionaries, voices, and designers of our time. Welcome to the class of 2023.
Hello, everybody. About a year ago, I came to the World Around's Board of Directors with the idea of a climate prize that would rotate around Earth Day. We really thought that in our position as a convener of everything that you've heard today, the architects, the designers, the thought leaders, the global conversation, we thought there must be a way to integrate this knowledge with the knowledge and the energy of the next generation. I just want to profoundly thank the board for saying yes to this idea that I didn't really know how to do, and for supporting me and my team, Satomi, Blair, of Anna Minihin, and Dan Howarth, who have been part of this process of Young Climate Prize and have made it happen. I first want to thank our new board chair, Adam Flatto, who's been incredible and just a wonderful, generous, supportive human being. Thank you. To Vishaan Chakrabarti, who you've all heard from already today. Elizabeth Diller, thank you so much, Liz, who was instrumental in really conceiving this prize with me. Pete Dillon, who's been with us at the beginning of all time from the World Around. Thanks, Pete, as always, for your support. And also thank you to our founding board chair, Chairman Emeritus Diego Mariquin. Second, I also want to thank our advisory board, which includes the people that came up with the identity of this and the identity of the World Around 2x4. Thank you, Susan Sellers. Thanks to my advisory board for all of your support in making Young Climate Prize happen. And I went to the board first, and the advisory board second, and to Tina Vaz third. Tina Vaz is the head of Meta Open Arts, and they are the reason that we were able to create this prize. And so I'm going to hand the stage over to Tina to say a couple of words. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. It's truly humbling to stand here in the presence of such inspiring thinkers and innovators. Not just the speakers we've heard from today, but also the activists, inventors, archivists, and artists who are members of the Young Climate Prize 25 under 25 cohort. Meta has been proud to partner with the World Around since its inception in 2020, and this year in support of the inaugural Young Climate Prize. The Young Climate Prize celebrates the power and importance of creativity, as well as models of how to build and mobilize communities. More specifically, it recognizes that the next generation of revolutionary and transformative thinking about the future of our planet starts with those who have the greatest stake in the game, young people with their very futures to fight for. Thank you to the world around for raising up the voices of these emerging visionaries. And thank you to the winners for setting an example through their optimism and action, and for showing us new ways to think about our world.
Thanks so much, Tina. Thank you for your support. After we received hundreds of applications for the prize, the cohort of 25 gathered. We had 3 months of mentor sessions, of weekly workshops, of endless group chats, and a jury convened in March to review the work of these brilliant young people. They chose 3 winners, and all 3 of them are here with us today. In addition to the 3 winners, the jury was profoundly moved by another candidate of the 25, a poet from Nigeria called Aziba Ekio. Aziba's work is extraordinary. She is a poet and a writer, and the jury called out her work in particular, and I'm going to use their words. As one of the oldest tools of communication, poetry still manages to remain so powerful today and helps to grow a collective weight around issues. Aziba's poetry is extremely stirring, uplifting, passionate, and moving, and her strong voice in the fight to tackle the climate crisis will undoubtedly be heard. We weren't able to bring Aziba here, unfortunately, but we have asked her to give a short reading from her new collection, The Color Green.
Hi, my name is Ekio Aziba, and I'm so sorry that I can't be in New York with you for the summit, but I'm tuning in from Abuja, Nigeria. I'll be performing one of the poems from the collection, The Color Green. I hope it can connect with you. We scuttled along village roads we pretended were runways. Back then, green was just a color and not a manifesto. Black was not the air in my lungs, or the dust beneath my feet, or the fishes that cry bait when the streams are long dead to protest. In Ogbia, there are no more runways. I wake up to the claps of water that steals fragments of my home. I used to think floods were natural disasters. Nature scolds her children, beat down and black by currents whose penalty only condemns the defenseless. I used to think floods were natural disasters until I watched my father melt down, salvaging vestiges of our home, drenched in what the government names an act of God, a heavenly downpour, a poor drainage system. Poor is the color brown that cannot be tilled anymore. Poor is the color green, floating in bowels fetched from streams stormed by toxins. Poor is the color of wilting varnish, peeling walls, cracked flaws, awash by unfeeling tides. Poor is my brother's tears. Poor is colorless, a well, a stream, a fountain. Every drop flows from a community that is forced to flee home. In Ogbia, there are no more runways. I cannot wheel against the tar. This ground is the ocean's bed. This runway is now a runlet. My brother asks me if our home will still be home by Christmas. I tell him we are survivors, that we've always been survivors. But there is a difference between living and surviving. And surviving, that is no way to live. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all the winners of the Young Climate Prize. Congratulations, David, Pamela, and Namra. You all are so wonderful. Enjoy the summit.
We really tried to get Aziba here, and we have promised her that she will come to the next edition of The World Around. So next year, hopefully, we will be able to see her in person. So we're going to give out the awards to the 3 winners, and I'm going to afterwards have a short conversation with them. The first prize is going to be, we have the good fortune of being able to have the mentor of David Kamara, who is here today with us. Dominic Leong, who you heard from earlier, is going to be giving out the Young Climate Designer Award to David. Do you want to come out, Dominic? Thank you. We just realized that Dominic was here on site, so we didn't do a rehearsal of this. So, David, would you like to come out and receive your Young Climate Designer Prize? We are very proud to have today Wendy Fisher, who is the president of the board of the Guggenheim Foundation. Welcome, Wendy. Thank you so much for everything. Wendy is going to be giving the Young Climate Visionary Award to Namra Khalid, who will be here. He's here today from Pakistan. Well done, Namra. And finally, for the Young Climate Voice Award, we have Tina Vaz, once again, who will be giving the Young Climate Voice Award to Pamela. Thanks, Tina. So, welcome to the 3 of you. Welcome to New York. Welcome to the world around. It is we've had a wonderful time over the last several months as part of the cohort. And well, the first thing I'm going to ask is for each of you to give a short explanation of your project and why you're here, really. Actually, maybe David, do you want to kick us off?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
I don't know exactly how I'm feeling right now, but I know I'm feeling good, absolutely. So 10 years ago, I had this dream of visiting the United States, of course, and especially coming to New York. And not only coming to New York, but as well visiting the Statue of Liberty. And today, I'm here, not only being in New York, visiting the Statue of Liberty, I'm here in Guggenheim, it's an amazing pleasure. And also, I haven't worn a suit in like 2 years. It feels so good in a suit today. And I just want to appreciate the Beatrice and the all-around team for making it a possibility, a dream 10 years ago. It happened. I just want to appreciate, and as well, I want to appreciate all of you for coming and celebrating us. And I want to appreciate the young minds, the 25 finalists, and as well my fellow winners. Come on, give us a round of applause. So my project, I started 3 years ago. It's based in Sierra Leone. So what we do is we recycle plastic waste into tiles and bricks. So we've been working over the last 3 years. Unfortunately, in as much as we've been experiencing eventualities at the end, but notwithstanding, we keep working hard and see we stick to the mission and seeing how we could create more impact in our community. I grew up from the Bombay slum, where basically we just had to contend with plastic waste as part of our living quarters. Plastic, we break fast with plastic, we lunch with plastic, we dinner with plastic. So looking at all these experiences has really taught me, something we should, in as much as we find ourselves in circumstances that does not favor, our conditions, but as well we need to work towards, designing solutions that solve these problems. So the skill is something I learned from my grandpa. It's a long story. I'm pretty sure I'll explain as time goes on. It's something I learned from my grandpa at the age of 13, 14 years old. He as well learned it from his previous ancestors. He taught me, and when I came to when I came to understand how much plastic is a problem in our communities, when it especially contributes to climate change, I just took it upon myself to start with what I have. That's the skill of designing plastic waste into paving tiles, bricks, and currently we are prototyping on how we could use plastic to make roofing sheet as well. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Namra Khalid from Pakistan. I also want to thank Beatrice, Anna, my mentor Hank, and the Guggenheim team, the Meta team for everything they've done so far. Also a big thank you to my family in Pakistan who's watching this live, even though it's 3 a.m. And my family who's traveled from New Jersey and friends who've been here. But also a huge, huge thanks to the entire Karachi cartography team, which is the project. They've been behind this. They've worked tremendously on everything, even though I'm just the person who's representing it here. So my project is Karachi cartography. Pakistan ranks 8th on the climate risk index. Just last year, we had the worst possible floods. 33% of our country was underwater. There were 30 million people who became homeless after that because they lost their homes in the crisis. Karachi did not face that flood, but Karachi does face urban flooding every year, and it keeps becoming worse and worse. The way it happens is as soon as the rain happens, the entire city it shuts down. Water remains stagnant, sometimes in certain areas for even months. The question comes, why is the water not evacuating? There are cities, even New York, which has much more rain than Karachi. It functions, the water evacuates. So to kind of find out what the water channels were they blocked, what not, we started looking at maps. Maps are the basis of all spatial data. They're problem identifiers in a way. Have you ever heard of a doctor saying that a patient needs surgery without conducting diagnostic tests first? The same thing happens with maps. Without looking at maps, how can we go on to propose solutions for the urban flooding crisis or any other crisis related to spaces? So we took a step back. Rather than trying to find solutions, we started identifying the problems in Karachi. And that's when we also realized that maps are not necessarily available. Old maps are still disputed colonial property. A lot of maps have not even been made. So we at Karachi Cartography work to map the city. We have designed, we're making a repository of all old maps that we can find from all across the world, because Karachi's maps are literally everywhere, from India to UK to Czechoslovakia, Japan. So we're trying to find them and collect them together. We're also making the first digital map of all Kachi Abadis, which are informal settlements, to mark out what places in the city are most vulnerable to the climate crisis and what communities are most vulnerable to the climate crisis. Along with this, we're making a one-stop climatic map, which shows what areas are susceptible to what sort of climate challenges. All this data is open access, and we hope that stakeholders, urban planners, can benefit from it and start using it for their solutions later. And eventually, we hope to just use Karachi cartography as a pilot and move towards making this for all of Pakistan.
Hi, everyone. I also would like to start by thanking everyone at the World Around and who was behind this whole mentorship program, especially you, Beatrice, Anna, and Mariana, my mentor. It was an incredible opportunity to advance climate words. And I would also like to thank the Climate Words team, because without all of you, I don't think we would have been able to advance it as much as we did. So yeah, Climate Words exist to give people the tools they need to talk about climate. Climate literacy is actually incredibly low. There was a 2021 survey that found that less than 15% of respondents in Germany, Italy, UK, France, and the US were climate literate. And that means that 85% of the respondents were climate illiterate. That's actually incredibly high. And something that the study also found was that climate literacy is directly correlated to climate action. So this is where Climate Words comes in. Our mission is to provide climate literacy by curating an extensive lexicon of keywords submitted by experts on the front lines. We invite authors, scientists, activists, indigenous leaders, explorers, and designers to define a word that is central in their work, to choose a word that is central to their work and define it in their own words. With this, we hope to equip everyone from all backgrounds with the necessary tools to take action on the climate crisis.
All three of you, everybody involved in the cohort is under 25. And I think that you've all, different than my generation, you were all born into this crisis. I'd like to know a little bit from each of you, about the moment that you realized that you could see the problem and that you felt that maybe you yourself could be part of the solution. Can you tell me a little bit about that first moment that maybe your project started to develop in your mind? Maybe David, you would like to start?
I actually like telling stories. At the age of 13 years old, 14 years old, I was staying with my grandpa. He's my hero. We used to rear chickens. We have our dogs, cats as pets. But their houses were made of mud bricks. And back in Sierra Leone, we have 2 seasons. We have the raining season, we have the dry seasons. When it rains, usually the houses of our cats and our dogs will break down. So looking at this, it happens on couple of occasions, and it was quite expensive acquiring cement bricks back home in Sierra Leone. So my grandpa looked at this, and one day he asked me to go out around the community and collect plastic waste and bring it over to the house, which I did. I brought them over to the house, and by the time I could realize, when I came back, I saw my grandpa's made bricks out of the plastic. I was pretty much curious on how exactly he did that. So I asked him, "Grandpa, how do you do this?" And he taught me how to do it. It took me 6 to 8 months to really master the process of converting this plastic waste into bricks and tiles. So looking at that, then I look at him. If we can construct our pet house with plastic bricks, I said, "Grandpa, we're living in a mud house, for God's sake. Why don't we use these bricks as well to construct our own house we're living in?" I asked him that question. But one thing about my grandpa, he believes me so much. So, well, if that been the case, let's see what you got. Fast forward to 2020, I got myself quite interested into the environmental aspect. I started working, initially mobilizing my colleagues in the community. We do beach cleanups, we do community cleanups, these things. But I was going through some various reports, environmental reports. I'm quite interested in environmental sustainability. That was when I came to the understanding of how plastic is causing so much havoc across the world, not only in Sierra Leone. I meant to understand last year, the plastic production is increasing each and every year. Last year, we had over 300 million tons of plastic being produced annually. And not only that, plastic as well is contributing over 5.7% of the global greenhouse gas emission. And by 2050, it's quite projected that plastic, we will be having more plastic in the oceans than fish. And I'm pretty sure nobody want to eat plastic here, right? So being informed by all these situations that surrounds me, and we don't have any recycling facility in Sierra Leone, we don't have anything. At the end of the day, this plastic ends up in our oceans, our landfill sites, and they add up to the problem. So I look at this and say, yeah, we could do something out of this. Fortunately for me, I was able to mobilize a team who were quite willing to, push the vision I had for my community. So mobilized in 2020 at the peak of the COVID, it was quite disturbing as well. We started recycling plastic into bricks. We started initially with just few members, and from 2020 on to 2023, as I speak to you currently, we're currently working with 8 to 10 full-time people, and as over 40 to 60 plastic scavengers who collect plastic in the various communities and all. So since 2020 to 2023, currently, I'm proud to let you know that we've recycled over 460 tons of plastic waste while creating over 50 to 60 jobs for community dwellers in our community. Not only that, we lay emphasis on how we could sensitize the community about the hazard of plastic in our community. So we currently have over 9 nature clubs in various schools in the community. And now, our production is getting so big that we are having issues outsourcing plastic. At the end of the day, we go to landfill site, we collect all the plastic, and eventually we don't have raw materials again to make more productions. So currently we're looking forward to expanding to the capital city, which is notorious with plastic waste, and see how we could tackle the issue of plastic as well. So my point here is, my grandpa always used to tell me this. He says, as a young person, you want to solve a problem, look into your community. There is so much we could do in our community. I say, start with what you have, do what you can, and start at the community where you are. We ain't gonna solve all the problems. You can't solve all the problems. But I believe in collaborative actions. Pamela is working in Mexico, Nambra is working in Pakistan, and I'm working in Sierra Leone. These small efforts, when mobilized together, can create a bigger impact. And at the end of the day, by 2030, 2050, we're gonna have a world we could live and be proud of ourselves that, yeah, we've got this. Thank you.
Namra, I'm going to ask the same question, but with an inflection that you studied architecture. So I'm curious a little bit how maybe you could tell us about the first moment that you realized that there was this issue around mapping and that Karachi cartography would be your solution. But also, how do you use your architecture training when you set up that project?
Yeah, I think I had a series of moments. I studied architecture here, and when I went back home in August 2020, it had just rained before that, but it wasn't raining anymore. My parents had borrowed my uncle's car to the airport because there was so much water on the road that normal cars couldn't go through it. And despite of bringing a bigger car, we were still getting stuck everywhere, and there was just water everywhere. After my other uncle's house had been damaged, they didn't have electricity for over 2 weeks. The same cycle keeps repeating every year. With the water come waterborne diseases, dengue, mosquitoes, and this just keeps repeating year after year. Originally, I wanted to just do research for myself the way it's done architecturally, using maps and understanding spatial data on what is going wrong. At that point, I realized that our maps are so all over the world, and Some of them are even in people's private collections, used as decorative pieces in drawing rooms rather than being used as just works for spatial data. Our archives are not necessarily publicly accessible. So what would we do to like get maps in people's own private houses? I didn't know what to do. So the idea was, let's make like a social media page and start an open call for maps. And we got a really good response at that point. We were, since I was doing the research that I was previously doing, we were trying to map the socio-climatic evolution of the city, also looking at projections. And one thing that kept coming up is that the city is projected to be underwater by 2060. This was so alarming. Because 2060, it's not like some far-fetched future. That's just 37 years from now. It could be very easily in our lifetime, even in our parents' lifetime. And the idea that our city might not exist in our future is just so, I don't even know what the words to use, and this is not a small city, it's the 12th most populous city in the world. At that point, it was like, okay, we need to get together and really start something. It can't just be mapping in private silos, it needs to be publicly accessible, it needs to be involving everyone. And that's how Karachi Cartography was started, and we became a team.
Yeah, so I've been involved in the climate justice movement for a little bit over 6 years now, and I'm not gonna fall. And I've been organizing primarily with Latinas for Climate, which focuses on the intersection of gender and climate justice, with the Escazú Agreement, which is a regional campaign in Latin America that focuses on human rights and climate justice, and the Climate Coalition here in New York City, but also internationally. And with my activism, I've gone to climate conferences such as COP26, COP27, and when I was especially in COP26, I remember being in this big conference center and just hearing people say big fancy words, and many were staying stuck in its science and policy niches. And people in the conference, but also outside of the conference, were not understanding key climate words. And it kind of made me frustrated because a lot of these words were being used for political and greenwashing purposes. So I wanted to do something to be able to kind of like just grab the words and be like, hey, that's not what it means. It actually means a lot like this and this. But I didn't want to define the words myself. I wanted to collaborate with those who are at the front lines of climate justice and for them to define the words and be able to claim the language back to its roots and show that so many people are working on this every single day, and there's already so many solutions that exist, and it's just a matter of communicating them correctly.
All of their projects are available on videos on the World Around Young Climate Prize website if you'd like to learn more about them. So we're out of time a little bit, so we're just going to have one final word from each of you. One of the key ideas about the Young Climate Prize was that there should be a bridge between generations, and I think you have all enjoyed being, I know, part of the cohort and connecting with each other. There's, I think, 18 different countries in our cohort of 25 people, which is very apt, of course, for our organization. But importantly, you each had a relationship with a mentor over this three-month period. I would be curious if you had a comment or something that you would perhaps say to our generation or this more establishment generation from your perspective. What have you learned about this? What would you say, to your mentor? What have you said to your mentor that we could learn from you? What would be your message to our generation?
Can I start? So, as I said, I've been in the climate movement, and there it is a space where it's mostly one generation, like 25 and under kind of thing, for the most part. And a lot of the times we're learning from each other, just our generation teaching and supporting each other. And for the first time, I was in a space where I was able to learn from other generations. And through the months, it kind of became an intergenerational collaboration where it genuinely felt like older generations wanted to support us and engage with us so that we together could solve some part of the climate crisis and work on it together. So yeah, it was very special to be able to feel that support that it's not really felt a lot of the times in this fight.
So my mentor is Hank Irving. He's totally amazing, and I also agree with what Pamela just said, that usually it's just our generation who cares about it. Hank, on the other hand, cares a lot, and his work is all around water. He's the water ambassador. He was one of the organizers of the UN Water Conference that just happened last month. And he's also the Dutch special envoy. As you know about Netherlands, Netherlands knows something about water that everyone in the rest of the world can learn. In Urdu, we say something, there's a saying we use in Karachi cartography, it's dost bhi pani, dushman bhi pani, likhni hai tumhe kaun si kahani. It means that water can be your friend, water can be your enemy. It really depends on how you take it. And that's true, because if you start fighting the climate, if you start disrupting the water channels, no matter what, water will win. Maybe you'll win for a day, maybe a year, maybe 50, 100 years, but eventually water will find its path. So what I learned from Hank, and what I think it's something we just need to learn, is that we need to work with the nature rather than in spite of it or despite of it.
I hope that was not for me. You'll have to give me applause afterwards. Keep that one. So, I opened the application for YCP like a month to the deadline. I look at the application, I wasn't interested. Move back, go about my business and all. Like 3 days to the deadline, but each and every morning when I wake up, I keep having this YCP, apply. 3 days to the deadline, I said, okay, then let me just give this a shot and forget about it once and for all. I don't like having thought of something over and over again. I applied. After 3 weeks, I got an email that you've been shortlisted for an interview. Okay, nice. Afterwards, after December 20th, I could still remember I was preparing for Christmas with my housemate when I got the email that I made it to the finals for the YCP. Yee! Excited. We got in. Actually, started doing this journey has been quite hectic, quite tough. At some point, I just feel like stepping back and say, okay, let me just try something else. But finding myself in the midst of 25 young other climate champions across the world, collaborating and solving crucial problems in their community stood out for me. Everybody we are quite abject to learning, willing to teach. Nambra and I usually jump into, Zoom. We have an hour and 2 session, having discussion about our project and all. Then through Young Climate Prize, I've been able to collaborate with my other finalist, Stanley. He's not here. Stanley and I, over the last couple of weeks, we've competed in other various climate competitions together, and as well Joseph. Being with them, the ability to push, let's do this, haunts me each and every morning I wake up. Their presence literally, it gives me no rooms for comfortability. It just gives me zeal and energy to do more. I want to do more and execute it and pursue my dream. I have a dream, by the way. You know what? By 2030, I and my team, we want to recycle over 650 tons of plastic waste, while as well creating jobs for local underserved communities where we operate. And my mentor, I was having issues when it comes to planning. I'm that kind of person who is speed. I was really having issues when it comes to looking at the medium and the long-term strategic planning. So I met one of the best mentors. You should definitely reach out to him for support and all. He's the best, definitely, Mr. Dominic Leon. Yeah, we had our first call. Before jumping to the call, I had to jot down things I would need for, during our course of mentorship. We just had one brief session when it comes to strategic planning. It makes me go, when I went back to the drawing board and analyzed my strategy and plans at a short, at a now, near, and next. So over the last couple of months, it has really given me a more, looking at my project at a more expansive, extensive perspective than just looking at it from the now perspective. And it has really helped me a lot. And not only that, I'm so happy to as well make it to the finals today for the Commonwealth Youth Award in top 4 in Africa. As a result of the plans and things I've mobilized on how I could execute my project more. And so far, so good. This cohort and my mentor combined is the best combo one could ever add. I always have this, I'm a forever student. I always have this, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will always appear. I put myself in a position and I got ready. And of course, the wonderful 24 finalists, they appeared. And as well, Mr. Dominic appeared. And since then, things have changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I'm gonna thank you so much, all of you. I mean, you must learn more about their works via our website and via their own websites, actually. They all have their own websites. Climate Words, Karachi Cartography, Ecovironment. And thank you all so much for being here.